and Rabobank.
Rabobank?
Rabobank.
Rabobank. It's a Dutch bank.
So it's not Rabobank?
No, Rabobank.
That's what I said, Rabobank. So that's not homosexuality, that's incest.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Hi, and welcome to episode 17 of About a World. We're recording this on March 16th for our March 17th, 2014 episode. I'm your host, Christopher Bear.
And I'm your co-host, Colin Maassen.
And we're here to talk to you about a world.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's been going on in the past week for you, Colin?
Not much.
Really?
You see my Facebook status.
I mean, I've been watching your feeds and you've just been posting almost nonstop this week.
No, I haven't. You saw me post a lot of news articles today because I went through my feed items.
I only pay attention to you when we're recording. During the rest of the week, you don't exist to me.
Yeah. Neither do you, so.
Yes. I'm invisible.
Yeah, you use it to great effect on your friends.
Yeah, I was hoping to have an episode I could show you during this podcast recording. The internet's a buzz about this episode of a TV series that only aired once for one episode before it was killed.
And that is?
It was such a terrible show. It's called Heil Honey, I'm Home.
What? Nazi Germany?
It's about Adolf Hitler and Ava Braun if they moved into an apartment and lived next door to a Jewish family.
Oh, wait, I think I've heard about that one.
It's so ridiculously bad. I mean, the premise could lend itself to a comedy skit, but as a TV series, the joke pretty much was just the premise, and that was it.
Yeah. That doesn't sound like good TV for like 1 or 2 seasons.
But I just watched it, and it was just like, this is so horribly written. It's trying to be like a classic sitcom in the 50s and 60s with the edge of like Archie Bunker.
I don't know Archie Bunker.
Oh, All in the Family?
Oh wait, that's long ago.
Yeah, in the 70s. But it's just, it fell completely apart because you can't make Hitler into a mockery and then try to make jokes about what Hitler did, like invading and being against Jews. The comedy doesn't work there.
Well, they did succeed with Allo Allo.
I guess you have that argument, but this one was just, what if Adolf Hitler were more like Ricky Ricardo, and instead of Lucy being the one with the schemes, it was Hitler with the schemes.
Yeah.
But he was clueless about what his wife kept doing behind his back.
So basically they were doing the Hitler like in Captain America.
But if he were completely incompetent, but trying to be the leader of Germany.
Yeah, that was basically Hitler as portrayed on stage in Captain America.
On stage?
Have you seen the movie?
Yes, but I'm just saying, Captain America wasn't too much about Hitler. It was more about the Red Skull.
True, but Hitler did make an appearance as an actor.
Yeah. It's just, it was like one point in the show, Neville Chamberlain comes to visit, and Hitler sends Goebbels to pick him up, but Goebbels has no idea what Chamberlain looks like. It's not explained why this is. So Hitler has to go down and help pick up Neville Chamberlain. And while he's gone, his wife and his neighbors come over, or his wife's already at the apartment, Ava Braun, but the neighbors come over and they start drinking, and the husband's getting all drunk and rambunctious and goes through Hitler's things and finds that Hitler secretly wants peace and all this stuff. And it's just like, yeah.
No, it doesn't work.
And it was pulled for being controversial, but I think they pulled it because it just wasn't funny. It's funnier to discuss it.
Yeah, it's funny to discuss it, but it sounds like such a horrible episode. Just that one episode alone.
Yeah, but you can find it on YouTube. It's Heil Honey, I'm Home, full uncut episode is the title of it.
Full uncut.
Yes.
What did they cut out of it?
Nothing. It's just it was broadcast once, but some people have been posting it in pieces because it's 25 minutes long. And
Oh,
if they don't have a certain account status, then they can only post 15 minutes at a time.
yep.
So this is just one full take.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
that.
it's currently sitting at 185,000 hits or views with 1,500 thumbs up and 50 thumbs down.
Your tweets now make more sense.
Yes. Chad, I wish I could have played it during the show just to
No,
hear you react to it,
no, please don't.
but we won't do that.
Oh, dear Lord, no. Anyway, do you have a story for us?
I have quite a few stories, so I think
Yes,
this
I
episode's
know.
going to be a little long today. So my
Pick
first
one.
story comes from Kiev Post. I don't know where exactly that's from. I'm hoping from Ukraine, based on the name. It's by Oksana Gritsenko. It's Russian troops invade Kherson Oblast. Ukrainians declare right to fight back.
Yep, I saw that
And
news pop up. That
yeah,
was strange.
it's a few things from Crimea. Crimea's parliament voted to secede from Ukraine, but the Ukraine government, I don't know if they voted, but they declared Crimea's parliament to be null and void. They pretty much dismantled it about the same time they were voting to succeed.
Yeah,
So this is
that
kind
was
of,
today.
yeah, so it's kind of pull and tug here.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, several Russian military helicopters landed on March 15th in southern Kherson Oblast near Kremlin-occupied Crimea, bringing dozens of commandos and seizing a natural gas plant. The move heightened tension on the eve of a Crimean referendum, which Ukraine and the West consider illegal. Russian troops unexpectedly invaded the Crimean Peninsula on February 27th, and the following days, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that he might order the use of military forces in Ukraine. So it's just getting better down there.
It's like what the hell is he thinking?
Yeah, I
Because
think
he's still denying that it's his army that's in Crimea, and now the Russian military is going into Ukraine.
see there's some conspiracy theories out there that I'm starting to
Of course there
entertain
are.
just because of how beautiful they are. That Russia intentionally offered Snowden his asylum in Russia so that Snowden wouldn't try to broadcast the secrets about what Russia was going to do if he knew about that.
What?
Yeah. Imagine this. Russia, I mean, there's a guy who just is pouring out secrets of the US government and other governments that he discovered because of his role in the NSA at this point.
Yeah,
Or was it NSA or CIA?
NSA,
Anyways,
if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. And then Russia says, "Oh, we'll take you in. We'll give you asylum here. You're free to move around Russia." And then a few months later, starts invading the country. It's just like, was this intentional? Was he trying to say, "Hey, don't give out our secrets, and we'll keep you safe"?
No, I think it's just his general tactic of trying to piss off the world.
Yeah. So I mean that I don't agree with the conspiracy theory that it's true, but it's something I'm entertaining because it's such a beautiful argument. It just fits all the pieces together, but there's just no validity to it.
Uh-huh.
So
It's like watching a rare moment of clarity on an Alex Jones channel. Still doesn't make any sense. Still not true, but it's fascinating to see.
yes, and those would be the same people. Alex Jones was right about something, and he was wrong about 1,000 other things. It doesn't make him smart.
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh,
4 helicopters landed near Strykov village in the north of Arabat Spit, narrow piece of land in South Kherson region brings 60 commandos, the state border service reported. The border guards, together with soldiers, about 20 people, had to move back from the crossroad leading to Henechek city nearby and had to take up defense, it said in the report. Wonder if that's just a bad translation that they had to have so many parentheses in it. Going back to
Or they
last
hired
week's
the same
stories.
writer.
If you haven't remembered what I'm talking about, then go back to episode 16.
Uh-huh.
About at about 3:30 p.m., 6 more helicopters landed there, bringing 60 more commandos. Several military vehicles were riding along the Arabet Spit at the same time. See, this is definitely an invasion if you keep bringing in more soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. The Russians told the Ukrainian border guards they came to defend from possible terrorist attack the local natural gas production station owned by, oh, I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce this name, a Ukrainian exploration company that Crimea authorities have declared as its own property. So pretty much they're saying that there's a possible terrorist threat to something in a sovereign nation that they weren't invited to go protect.
It does sound familiar, doesn't it?
Yes. Are you? I mean, the United States was trying to help people. They're not the same as Russia. Get it right. While the border guard said there were no clashes, the Ministry of Defense said in its report that the Ukrainian army reacted, bringing forces of Army Aviation and Air Mobile Battalion and forcing the invaders to leave the territory. But based on the information of well-informed army expert Dmytro Timchuk, head of the Central Center of Military and Political Researches, the Russians are still there. At the moment, our commandos are approaching the spot, Timchuk wrote on his Facebook page, because all great military leaders use Facebook.
To announce their plans.
But there is the fact that gas production station, for unknown reason, wasn't guarded. So Russia's saying they're coming in to protect something from terrorist invasion or a terrorist attack, and the Ukrainians are saying we don't need your help, but we just didn't protect something for some odd reason.
Yeah, but still.
I don't know, but this to me just sounds like an invasion. No
No,
matter how
really.
you gussy it up.
No, really.
I'm talking about invasion for the purposes of taking over, not for protecting.
Yeah.
At least the United States didn't want to take over Afghanistan or Iraq. We just wanted them to implement our services, pay us for it, give us their oil, and then we'll leave.
Yeah, that was a very sound investment. Hmm?
We don't want the land, we just want what's under the land.
Yeah, and then look at what you cost. It cost you.
Doesn't matter. We'll just blame it on the liberals.
Oh, spoken like a true neoconservative.
Exactly. What stories do you have that are better than the ones I've got?
I'll start with a bit funny one. This one is from The Edge. And this is, I'll read part of the title or giving it away. Pastor movie, not saying which movie, was created by the devil, teaches kids to be gay. Can you guess which movie that was?
Pretty
It's a
much
recent.
any movie that comes out of Hollywood, they accuse of trying to make kids gay.
True, but I'll read a part of it. See if you can guess it.
Okay.
Man, how many children are taken into these things, and how many Christians are taking their kids to see see this movie, produced by an organization that is probably one of the most pro-homosexual organizations in the country. You wonder sometimes. I'm not a tinfoil hat conspiratorialist, but you
Wow.
wonder sometimes if maybe there is something very evil happening here. If I was the devil, what would I do to really follow up an entire social system and do something really, really, really evil to 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds in Christian families around America?
Sounds like they're talking about the movie Noah.
No. It's epic what happens in the movie with natural disasters, but it's not the Noah movie.
How about Frozen?
Bingo.
Yes.
That it's like how do you get to that?
There was in the first evening with Kevin Smith. I don't know if you've seen it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's pretty much Kevin Smith is the director of Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Cop Out, all those. So
Hmm.
he's well known if you know movies. And when he made Dogma, there was a lot of concern from the Catholic League about how blasphemous it was, and they were going to try to make sure it never saw the light of day.
Hmm.
And Kevin Smith was relaying this, and that they were arguing nonstop. They were the Catholic League president was going on the media saying that he's going to boycott it. Everyone should boycott it. At that time, it was going to be released by one of the Disney studios.
Hmm. What?
Yeah,
Okay.
Miramax, which Disney owned, was going to
Oh,
release it.
okay.
So the wines and Kevin Smith is talking about how bad this was, that everyone was picking it up. Nobody was talking about the movie except for the protest that was coming from the Catholic League. So at that point, the Weinsteins, who owned Miramax or ran Miramax, I should say, bought the rights to distribute it from Disney and Miramax and sent it over to another company unaffiliated with Disney. And as soon as they did that, the protests stopped. People stopped arguing that they're going to boycott it, all this stuff. And when Smith asked about it, they said that, well, it's not with Disney anymore, and they only protest Disney because anyone who protests Disney makes news.
You've
But
got
if
to
you
be kidding me.
protest a third party that's unrelated, the media doesn't give a crap. And it
You
was
wanted
so
to say a
true.
different word.
The exact same movie, nothing was cut, nothing was changed. It was still coming out in about as many theaters as Disney would have had. They stopped protesting once Disney was no longer going to release it.
That's weird. But it
So
fits with
this,
what he's saying about Disney with their stance on homosexuality.
I mean, if you think about it, how many different movies come out that could be argued the same as, what Frozen does with trying to promote gay and kids? I mean, you could just wrap anything like How to Train Your Dragon. It's a small village with mostly guys and one girl. They're trying to promote homosexuality
Yes,
because
one
there's not
girl.
enough
You're
girls.
forgetting two others.
Am I?
There are two
That's
other
right.
characters.
Yes, there are.
The
But I'm just
twins.
saying, if you get to a point where it's just like it's all males and just very few females, this is trying to teach kids gay. But since it's not a Disney release, nobody's saying anything. You get a Disney release, they suddenly start protesting because Disney is the family-friendly entertainment giant.
But still, the whole reason for this was that the true love wasn't the guy saving the girl, but one of the girls, it's the sister saving the other sister.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, that's love too.
So that's not homosexuality. That's incest.
You had to go there, didn't you?
You brought it up.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
I'm just pointing out the flaw in the argument.
You're so bad. But it's ridiculous. Like, why? Why are you? It's a fun movie. It had a bit of a conventional trope in it.
Okay,
Enjoy it.
have you not experienced what the diehard Catholics in America are about? They're not about having fun.
I'm from Europe, so the answer would be no.
I mean, it's about excommunicating whoever you can to assert power.
Or you know what the Mormons do.
Well, they wait till you're dead and then convert you to Mormonism.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, these loudmouth Catholics that make all other Catholics look bad, they only care about getting their name in the press and saying how virtuous they are while just condemning everyone else. It's just like, do you remember the teaching of Christ?
no, they
Judge
don't.
not, lest ye be judged.
Uh huh.
That's all they do is just judge everyone else.
Yeah, and
It's
pick and
time we just
choose.
start ignoring them because they're just like nut jobs everywhere. They're going to keep wanting to get press to get their names in there. And then people will send them money because they think they're doing good things. And they're not. They just care about themselves.
The only attention they should get is what we're doing is basically point and laugh.
Hmm. But that
That's
the
the
media
attention they
doesn't
should be
point and
getting.
laugh. The media brings them on as though they have a legitimate concern. And they never do.
No, they don't have a legitimate concern. It's nonsense. It's a kid movie.
So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's in a sad way, but they just keep surprising me in what they protest about.
Shall I bring the curve down again?
Oh, please do.
Yes, I got a story from PJ Media. It says it's
Hmm.
Voices from a Free America, so it's probably a right leaning news organization, I guess.
Right winging. Okay.
Yeah, it's a story by Brian Preston,
Hmm.
and it's titled "Russia's Lackey Belarus Mobilizes His Military."
Where?
Belarus is northeast of Ukraine.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah, Russia has already seized Crimea and is mobilizing its military in key spots along its border with Ukraine, calling that mobilization exercises. On the Ukraine side of that border is a majority ethnic Russian region. Uh, Oleg Atashbian reported earlier today that pro-Russians in Donetsk, Ukraine, are stirring up violence. Russia already used the threat of violence as its pretext for seizing Crimea. It's not unreasonable to suspect that Putin is behind the riots that Atbashian reported, to use them as a pretext to move into Ukraine and seize not only its majority Russian regions, but also its valuable energy producing regions in the east. Russian forces could move in from Crimea as well as from bases inside Russia. Now, note the position of Belarus and then read the translated story from Interfax. And it's a block quote story.
Hmm.
Tactical exercises with units of force and air defense forces began Friday in Belarus, part of a military aircraft relocated to the preparatory. I'm catching your tongue today. Part of
You're
a
welcome.
military aircraft relocated to the I'm just going to
Speak.
just stop speaking today.
Speak.
Prep, I cannot pronounce this word.
What's the word?
Preparatory airfields. It just stumbles. God, that's so terrible. Should probably edit that out. Today
No, keep it
started
in. It's fun.
Today started tactical exercises with units of a number of compounds of anti-aircraft missile troops, Air Force and Air Defense Forces of Belarus, said the agency, Interfax on Friday, the press service of the Defense Ministry. There have been informed that on March 14th, in accordance with the plan check combat readiness of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Belarus, was done of the Flight Air Force and Air Defense Forces on prepared airfields. So it's bad translation, of course, from the internet, but it just sounds like Belarus is doing exactly what Russia is doing without actually going into Ukraine yet.
Yeah, I caught the news items that they were doing military exercise in the region. I was like, okay, come on, guys, that's not a smart thing to do in that situation. And now this one is like,
Yeah. According to this, Belarus might try to invade the west of Ukraine, where Ukraine's energy is currently in its west energy production to
hmm
its west and southeast.
hmm
Russia is taking the southeast right now. So if Belarus invades the west, Ukraine is pretty much powerless.
yep.
So this is not good news for the Ukraine right now. I'm sorry, Ukraine. They don't like to be called the Ukraine.
What?
They don't like to be called the Ukraine. They're just
Well,
Ukraine.
oh, okay. Why?
I don't know. Apparently, they don't like to be called the Ukraine.
Yeah, okay.
So that was a quick little story that I just could not read worth crap.
Oh, it was entertaining to listen to.
No, I know you're laughing at me. Ah, he speaks English and he can't pronounce a word. God. Trying to read a badly translated story at the same time I'm tripping over a word that just doesn't fit the rest of the story.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
so
welcome to me trying to say a Dutch word into an English sentence.
yeah, I
That's
sent
the
you
same
that one
problem.
meme. I sent you that one meme of Bender.
So, shall I do another one, or shall you do a second one?
You can do
Considering the amount of stories you have.
you can do another one.
Okay. Here's an article from The Conversation, which raises an interesting point. Is misinformation about the climate criminally that's a combination of sounds I don't have in Dutch.
Negligent.
Thank you. I give up.
Negligent.
You do remember that I said I was tired?
When did you say that? I don't remember it during the show.
No, I said it before the show. I already warned you for this. But it does raise an interesting point that organizations that deliberately misrepresent science or misinform people, that they might be well open for criminal prosecution.
Hmm.
And though it does warn that there's a difference between free speech, so what an individual is doing, and as they can be misinformed, but there's a big difference between an individual and an organization, like, for example, the Competitive Enterprise Industry Institute. I want to say industry, but it's not that. Cato, or for example, Heartland, or the Global Warming Policy Foundation, or the NIPCC. And I said an N before it, not the IPCC. So, yeah, they could be open for legal prosecution. I think that
Yeah.
should be done. The problem, though, is how do you do it?
Yeah, it's just like one of the stories I didn't include because it's been widely spread was the
Hmm.
measles outbreak in New York right now,
Yeah,
and the news has been saying the people were already vaccinated, so vaccination doesn't help, and
no,
the one study they had was one of the people was twice inoculated for measles and still caught it and
but
spread it, but it's just
that
like
that inoculation isn't for your entire life. That's for like 10 years, if I'm not mistaken.
well, it was double inoculation, but still, even if you're vaccinated, if you're surrounded by people who have the disease, you're still likely to catch it. You're just not as likely to be a carrier when enough people are vaccinated.
Yeah,
It's their herd immunity thing, where people who aren't vaccinated get protected because the people surrounding them are less likely to catch it. But when you have a lot of people who aren't vaccinated against it and it goes into a very populated area, it's going to spread. But the
yes, it
news
will.
is reporting like, vaccinations obviously don't do anything. And it's like that's harmful. It's no longer freedom of speech because that's bad science and you're telling people to do something that could potentially harm millions of people.
Yeah, that's the same thing with, for example, getting vaccinated for the flu. Now, you will probably get the flu, even if you're vaccinated, because just with how that vaccine is made.
Hmm.
But in most cases, it will be a lot milder than when you didn't get the vaccine.
Right.
I, for example, did get the flu last winter,
I
but I
didn't.
was lucky you. But I was just out of running for a couple of days with
Hmm.
reasonably mild complaints, not out of running for a week and maybe in the hospital.
Yeah. I had a
So,
coworker who caught the flu
yes.
and he caught the flu right after he had bronchitis.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
not a good
I
combination.
I had that as a kid, and I know that that combination is just pretty much, I want to die.
Yeah, that combination nearly killed me once.
Yeah. So it's not fun. So yeah, definitely. I mean, flu is just one of those things you should get a vaccine for every
Hmm.
year, just because it can make it milder, but because
Hmm.
thousands of people still die from the flu every year.
Yeah, sad thing.
So rather than making it spread faster and making it worse, you should just try to get the vaccine if you can.
Hmm. And
But
same
you were
thing here.
saying,
But the
sorry.
same thing goes also for climate change. We know that if we continue on the business as usual case, that the world will warm by at least about 4.5 degrees. That's a
Yeah,
vastly different world we're talking about, because that's the global average temperature.
yeah, but if you ask Fox News, it's been too cold in the Midwest, so let's warm it up.
Yeah, like that's 4% of the planet's surface. Woo!
But it's Fox News. They're never wrong.
Oh no, no, of course not. They're never wrong. They're such a paragon for accurate information.
They're fair and balanced. Don't snort in derision at that. If they weren't fair and balanced, they wouldn't call themselves fair and balanced.
You do realize that Bill O'Reilly said that global warming is just a theory.
Well, they're fair and balanced, so he must have a reason for saying that.
to be precise, he said theoretical, but still, it's like, are you a creationist? Do you even understand the word theory?
We can't explain what causes the tides.
Oh yeah, tide comes in, tide comes comes out. You can't explain it. Like the moon.
The moon is just a liberal conspiracy.
Yeah, but the his opponent, what was his name again? Was that atheist
Yeah,
advocate?
I want to say Silverman.
I think it was. I don't know. I forget his name constantly because I don't pay attention to him that much. But that was gold. Just the incredulous look on his face, like, did you just say that?
Sort of like when Bill Nye was on CNN and they asked him whether the asteroid flying by Earth was caused by global warming.
Yeah,
He blinked and was like, "Did an adult ask me this?"
he needed a couple of seconds to collect his brain. For like, wait, what? Was this serious or were you joking? The look on his face was priceless, just priceless. But yeah, it's. I'm wondering when these type of folks will be prosecuted because we're already in a changing climate, and
We're not we're not jailing people who keep advocating that vaccines cause autism, that vaccines are dangerous, that vaccines are poison.
they should be though.
I know, and they're causing actual deaths now because
Hmm.
enough people are not getting vaccinated that major diseases are coming back.
Yes. And the strange thing is that, and what was the thing I've read, I think the past week or the week before that, is that depending on how you communicate that vaccines are safe, you decrease the likelihood that someone will get vaccinated.
What?
Yeah, actually, yeah, backfire effect. You can have that. It's one of the things that I have to really pay attention to when I'm talking about climate myth is that I don't need to. That one of the things most people do is they talk about the myth first and then start to debunk it, but that reinforces the myth. So it's
Yeah.
harder to dislodge it from someone's mind. What you first need to do is talk about what you do get it correct, then talk about the myth, and then deconstruct where the myth is coming from and where it's going wrong.
It's sort of like the idea that some people have that, if what we're saying is true, then they're going to argue against it because they're afraid of the truth getting out. So the more people try to debunk something, the more they know it's really true.
Hmm.
And that's a stupid way to go through life. You
Yeah.
shouldn't accept something based on how much people try to debunk it or attack it. You should base it on how much evidence there is to support it.
Yep. So yeah, I'm wondering where this will eventually go. But you can imagine that a few of the usual suspects raised a bit of a stink about this.
Hmm.
But do you have a next one?
Yeah, I have something I spoke to you last week about that happened really close to home here.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
at an event called South by Southwest,
Hmm.
where I think the number is over 200,000 now attend. It's
I have
a
no idea.
it's a 2-week festival of music, entertainment, like movies and TV, and technology that happens in Austin. And at any time, there can be up to 70 events happening in the city at once.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's a really, really active show. But during the South by Southwest this year, there was a really tragic event that made world news.
Hmm.
And this is a story about the person involved with it. It's from the Austin American Statesman, I believe it's a newspaper called. Yeah, Austin American Statesman. Sorry, I don't read the local paper, and their site is called Statesman. I keep forgetting what the word is that comes before. This is by Jasmine Ulua and Tony Plotsky. Plahotsky.
Plotsky?
Plahotsky, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Crash suspect Rashad Owens has misdemeanor history planned to perform. The person that this is about a deadly car crash that happened.
Yeah.
So Rashad Charwan Owens had been in town Wednesday night to perform at an East Austin venue before police say he plowed a car through a crowd of South by Southwest festival goers early Thursday morning, killing 2 people and injuring more than 20 others downtown. His brother, Lamar Wilson, told the American Statesman that he last saw Owens on Wednesday evening before his 1 a.m. show at Club 1808 near 12th and Chicon Streets. Owens, who lives in Killeen and raps under the name Killing All Beats, or KAB254, that's
Mm-hmm.
Killing All Beats with a Z at the end,
Okay.
had been drinking and didn't know the streets of Austin, Wilson said. He never made it on stage.
Oh, that's
Police
obvious.
Police Chief Art Acevedo had said Owens, 21, will face 2 charges of capital murder and 23 counts of aggravated assault in a tragedy that shocked the city and drew worldwide attention. In a news conference Thursday morning, Acevedo asked residents and visitors not to let the selfish actions of one person ruin a celebration of life and music, and said the suspect had no regard for human life as he intentionally fled from authorities.
Mm-hmm.
News of the incident stunned his brother and grandmother, who told the American Statesman that Owens had been raised in a Christian home, was enrolled in college, and had been attempting to provide for his 6 children, ages 2 months to 5 years. I'm sorry, you're 21. You have 6 children
That's a bit of
with
that's a
different
big
women.
family. How many women?
Different women. I don't think we know exactly how many, but it's from what I understand, it's at least 3 mothers.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. It doesn't say in the story apparently, but if your oldest is 5 years old and you're 21, how have you been raised technically in a Christian home with Christian values, having sex when you're 15?
Well, you do know the statistics on this, right?
I know. I'm just saying. Saying he's been raised in a Christian home. This is unlike him. It's like so far he hasn't been presenting himself as the typical Christian.
Well,
It should have been. Sorry, I was
you
gonna
also
say.
have the statistics that, for example, when you look at abortions, Christians have more abortions than, for example, people that aren't religious.
Yeah. But if
Or,
you
for
have six,
example, yeah, continue.
I was gonna say, if you have 6 kids before the age of 21, there's something wrong with you.
Or at least an environment where you've grown up in. Something happened there, but what is not exactly clear.
It doesn't matter. I mean, even if you're
Normally, you
married,
don't have kids when you're 16, so
I mean, to have 6 kids and the oldest is 5 years, unless you're having twins, you're having multiple partners,
mhm.
and you're not taking care of the kids too well if you don't even have a full-time job. According to his Facebook posting, was he was working as a fast food worker.
Oh,
That's
that
not enough
doesn't make
money to
well.
take care of 6 kids.
No, it isn't.
I'm going to continue on this though, because this anyone who knows me personally knows how infuriated I was when the story hit, and when I found out more about the person who caused the crash. I mean, allegedly he's only been charged with it. He hasn't been convicted of it yet, even though he was tased at the scene and brought into custody.
Yeah, and the number of witnesses on the place where it happened.
Yeah. A search of public records reflected that he had several misdemeanor arrests in Bell County and Alaska, where Wilson said one of Owen's sons lives. The night of the South by Southwest crash, Wilson said he left Owens at Club 1808 to find their older brother downtown, and Owens later came looking for them pick up to pick them up for the show. Sorry. The 2 brothers had been waiting for Owens to arrive when they heard sirens and saw the throngs of police officers, Wilson recalled from his home in Killeen. He thought his younger brother had been arrested for driving without a license, but not for anything like what occurred, Wilson said. I can't
Still,
grasp it. I can't believe it, Wilson said. Everything was going good. We were just there trying to perform, and it made a whole other turn.
um,
Literally.
okay. The part where that raised an eyebrow with me was the where he said, "From I thought he was being just arrested for driving without a license.
Mm-hmm.
Just that's
It gets
already
worse.
quite up there in the range of things you shouldn't do. Because when you don't have a license, there's a reason for it."
Yeah, there was a story too on, I think it was Not Always Right, one of those
Hmm.
blogs where I like to check out because it has so many stupid people on it.
Yeah,
And
that's where you get your stupid people stories from, probably.
uh, no, but I wish I had. It's just what people report. It's more like a blog than a news aggregator. But
Okay.
one of the people that's the stories were depicting was somebody who was training to be, I think it was a sheriff. So they're
Hmm.
going through the course, and he was at the shooting gallery. And they said, well, if you don't have your own gun to take the test, then you have to
Oh, I've
borrow
seen
one of
that one. Yeah.
ours. And to borrow it, you have to give us an ID, a photo ID. He said, well, I don't have my license. My license has been suspended. They go, well, you have to bring your own gun then. He goes, well, I can't. I drove here. I don't have any weapons. I said, wait, you drove here? And you have a suspended license? He said, yeah. So they checked it out, and he had some warrants for his arrest.
Yeah, he had a warrant for his arrest because he didn't show up for his what was it, drunk driving court case.
I I can't remember now. But it was just like, why are you trying to take a test to become an officer when you have outstanding warrants?
Yeah,
They're gonna look you up eventually.
eventually they will, and more and soon if you're doing stupid things like I don't have a license. Oh, okay, how did you get here? By car? Excuse me.
To continue now, Wilson said that Owens had borrowed the gray Honda he was in from a friend named Andrew Bramwell, a music buddy with whom they were supposed to be rapping. Christopher Hogg, chief of media relations for Fort Hood, told the American Statesman that Bramwell was a soldier at the Killian Army Post and had reported his car stolen Thursday morning. Hogg said that Owens wasn't a Fort Hood soldier.
Just no. The guy has problems in his life. That's obvious.
Public records show Owens had several misdemeanor arrests out of Fairbanks, Alaska, including charges of a minor consuming alcohol and for criminal trespass. In October 2011, he was charged with driving under the influence, leaving the scene of an accident, and a petition to revoke probation. The Fairbanks records show. Excuse me. He pleaded guilty only to the DUI misdemeanor charge, and prosecutors dismissed the misdemeanor offense for fleeing, according to the filings. He has an active warrant in Alaska for failure to appear. Excuse me. Owens was also netted by Killian School District Police in September 2010. He pleaded guilty to criminal trespass, a Class B misdemeanor, and was sentenced to 60 days in jail, according to the Department of Public Safety and Bell County court records. He was sentenced to another 60 days in jail in Bell County for criminal trespass from an incident in January 2011. Reached at her home in South Carolina, his grandmother said that she was grief-stricken to learn of the latest case against her grandson. She said Owens had been born in South Carolina, but went to school in Killian. According to public records, he was born in the West Texas town of Sonora. The grandmother, who declined to give her name, said she kept a close relationship with Owens, who often called home and had last visited relatives in South Carolina for his 21st birthday. His brother said Owens had been taking online classes on music production from Full Sail University, based in Florida. I pray, I pray, I pray, the grandmother said. He is good. He is so good. Whatever happened was out of his control, I am sure. And that's
Um.
the end of this article. But to explain what happened, in
Yeah.
Texas, we don't have major streets as much as we have highways. So a lot of our highways are built with service roads. So you can take the highway as more of a freeway, and then if you need to exit to a lot of the streets that cross near or under or over the highways, you take what we refer to as a service road. So you
Hmm.
exit the highway and you get on a not as freeway, but still a fast-paced service road that runs alongside the highway.
Hmm.
So what happened was on Interstate 35, on the service road that leads through downtown Austin, he was coming from the north, it sounded like from the report, which meant he was coming from the higher number streets to the lower number streets.
Hmm.
He was stopped at a Shell station at the corner of the 35 service road and 9th Street, which is in the northeastern part of where South by Southwest was happening. He was
Hmm.
one block away from where barricades were blocking the street to car traffic.
Hmm.
Pedestrians could go freely. So he pulled into the Shell station, and what the police announced at the news conference they called after the incident happened, he was he was swerving in between cars in the service station while he was being followed by the police who were trying to pull him over on suspected DUI. So at that moment, they thought he was already drunk driving.
Hmm.
But as he weaved through the parking lot, he exited back out on the 9th Street. 9th Street is a one-way street for most of its length. and
Hmm.
it dumps into the 35 service road. So there's no way to drive on 9th Street the way he did when you're already on the service road. You're going the wrong way. So already he was traveling the wrong way on a one-way street, and he had 1 block to go before he got to the barricades that were set up so that people could go to the different venues in South by Southwest. Apparently, he nearly ran down one of the officers manning the barricade, who had to jump out of the
Oh,
way, broke through the barricade, took a right onto Red River, which is one of the streets that a lot of the venues are on for South by Southwest, and a large crowd had gathered.
yeah.
And he started running people down. Witnesses were reporting that he was swerving into people intentionally.
Wait, what? I didn't catch
Yeah,
that in the news reporting.
yeah. There's a video someone has interviewing people immediately after the incident. Like the guy's walking along Red River, and there's emergency people doing CPR and someone in the middle of the street. And he's
Hmm.
interviewing, and people are saying like he swerved intentionally and all this stuff. So people on the ground were reporting that he was trying to hit people. It seemed. And it took him 2 blocks before he finally hit a taxi, a moped, a guy on a bicycle, and finally a van on the sidewalk, which disabled his car, and he had to end up running. And the officers tried to stop him, tased him, finally got him into custody at that point. But seeing he killed 2 people, one of whom was a producer at a Netherlands studio,
Yeah, I know.
and a lady from Austin, and injured 23 other people. And as of the recording here, 2 are still in life-threatening situations with head injuries. All this for somebody, his family and friends say he's good. I'm sorry, if you're 21 and you're going to be pulled over again for being drunk, they have his toxicology, but they haven't announced it yet.
Yeah,
They
considering
drew
also
blood at
his
the
previous record.
yeah, they drew his blood at the hospital. And again, this is all alleged. He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. He hasn't admitted to anything yet, but I mean, they caught him at the scene,
Yeah,
so they know who the driver of the car is. But it's just he's a troubled person. He he doesn't take responsibility. He
no,
has 6
that much is
kids
obvious.
by the age of 21, and he works in fast food. And he borrowed a car from somebody else and decided to drive it drunk.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Allegedly,
There is a difference between, for example, accidentally having a kid when you're 16 and then taking responsibility and trying to finish your education or trying to do something with another job with it or trying to find employment.
if you have
But
a single child, it's just a bad decision.
yeah,
Something happened, whatever. When you have 6, you can't stop.
yeah, that
Oh,
indicates a pattern or with something. I don't know exactly what it is because I don't know enough about the person, but it indicates some issues considering also the record with the police he has.
and a person with all these bad decisions ended the life of 2 people, possibly harming permanently 2 other people, caused a lot of grief and strife in dozens of people, all to avoid responsibility again.
Yeah.
Sickening. This is what infuriated me so much was when we learned who the person was.
Hmm.
There was no reason he should have ran. If he was going to be convicted of drunk driving, it's a lot better than being convicted of capital murder, especially in Texas.
Yes. Yes.
Texas is one of the states you don't want a murder charge.
I'd rather deal with the police with something when something happens, an accident or I do something wrong or anything, than to flee. Because
Yeah,
that will always make the situation worse. There are very few cases that you can get away with fleeing, and even fewer where you successfully flee that they don't find you again.
yeah. You know who Ron White is, right?
I don't think so.
He's a stand-up comic.
Okay.
Uh, Anyways, he's from Texas, and one of the jokes he tells in a lot of his stand-up is, "If you come to Texas and kill someone, we'll kill you back."
Yeah. You
And
still
it's
have the
so
death
true.
penalty.
Yeah, we 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 still put to death dozens of people every year.
Yes. You've got a
So
good track record for that.
I mean, age 21, and I mean, I don't think he's going to get out of this. It's pretty damning.
With a number of witnesses that place him at the scene and getting out of the car, no.
Yeah, and his history and all the shit. So it's like
Yes.
my my wonder is why didn't anyone stop him before, sit him down? You know, like he's a good person. He's from a Christian home. It's like obviously he's not getting it. If he
Yeah.
keeps getting into trouble, if he keeps making bad decisions, someone has to sit him down and say, "Look, your life is going to be over if you don't understand what you're doing."
Hmm.
And now it's too late, and now other people suffered.
Yeah, the problem is you can't always get through to someone, and then it gets really difficult with getting them the help they need.
Yeah, and I like to remind people this is alleged. He hasn't been convicted yet.
Mm. Well, I'm
Before we
talking
get it,
generally.
yeah, I'm just saying it's just. So after I've worked myself up and gotten angry, do you have anything funny?
No, but we can take another stab at Fox News,
Okay.
and I'm going to say a Dutch name.
Oh no, you're gonna mispronounce it, and then Colin's gonna get mad.
Well, she's American and she has lived in America, but her last name is Dutch. Julie Boonstra, insurance cancelled and Obamacare plan unaffordable. That's how she was captioned on an interview on Fox News. And
Hmm.
she was saying that her previous insurance policy that she had was cancelled because of Obamacare. And now she has an insurance plan that she cannot afford.
Hmm.
There's a slight problem with it.
Hmm.
Can you imagine what it is?
But she's not telling the truth.
She thought she was telling the truth at the beginning. But that's just because before everything was explained to her. But what was actually the case?
Go ahead and tell us.
Okay. Boonstra said Monday her new plan let's start again. Boonstra said Monday her new plan she dislikes is the Blue Cross Premier Gold healthcare plan, which caps patient responsibility for out-of-pocket costs at $5,100 a year, lower than the federal law's maximum of $6,350 a year. It means the new plan will save her at least $1,200 compared with her former insurance plan she preferred was ended on Obamacare's coverage requirements.
Hmm.
So it turns out to be cheaper.
Yeah.
Again, it's like I can understand that it's confusing and it's scary when you're actually a patient and I remember correctly she has leukemia and then your insurance policy gets canceled and you get a new one with new rules and new deductibles and all the different rules that are then introduced and the new forms and everything.
Right.
But most of the time, you're cheaper with Obamacare or you're finally insured.
Right. Or you're
So,
insured at a better rate. You know, not
mhm,
exactly cheaper, but like they'll cover more.
yeah, most what I've seen is people getting about the same with premiums. Some are slightly higher, some are lower, for example, with Boonstra. But in every single case, if you start looking at what the policy covers and all the other arrangements around it, you notice that's a far better value you're getting. Far
Hmm.
better. And it's
Exactly.
like, I can understand that. For example, I'm not a fan of Obamacare. It's not perfect. It's not the kind of system you should need in America. And also not the full package that you need to reform your healthcare. But it's a start.
Right.
And it
It's
covers a
better
lot
than
more
the old
people.
system.
Yes, a lot better. Because you cover now a lot more people. And I really don't get it why it's still largely private it's still private insurance.
Hmm.
Why people are so against it and saying it's socialism and
Because it's the
socialism in the sense
government
of
telling
communism.
this is the government telling businesses and people what they have to do. So
Oh,
to them,
Jay,
it must be evil.
yeah, there's a difference between between protecting people and actually telling companies what they can and can't do.
Right. But you seem to forget that these are the same people who think that there's nothing good government can do unless it's run by a Republican.
Hmm. Oh well. It's still, and and probably the thing is that the funny thing about this is that Fox News and the host at the time said that they would be coming back to the story as it developed.
They're not
And
going to come back to it.
no, I suspect they won't with this one. Like, oh, you're cheaper now. Yeah, it's a win. It's like, oh, come on.
I mean, they don't do any providence to claims there. They don't look at the history of everything. They don't try to fact check what people say. They just go, "Oh, this person has a beef with somebody we don't like. Put them on the air."
Yeah, and that was why during the election, the presidential, what was it? The presidential was it, if I remember correctly, that the cognitive dissonance on display on Fox News, that was something to behold.
That was Pat Robertson, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think so. I'm trying to remember who it was who was trying to argue.
I think it was Pat Robertson, but I get these names often confused.
Yeah.
But
He was trying to argue that there's still a chance that Romney could win, and
yeah,
like every single pollster, every single place was just saying it's beyond reach now. Obama's won it, and there was just one holdout on Fox News who was going,
yeah,
"No, no, 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 no. There's still a chance Romney can win."
yeah. There were like two states that weren't fully in with the counting yet, and if you took a look at what already was counted and what still had to be counted, and how much then should be voted towards Romney, it was like no way.
See, we
Oh,
could
so
eliminate. I
yeah, continue.
was going to say we could eliminate a lot of this stupidity on the cable news by extending voting from one day to like a week and
Hmm.
allowing people to vote as they choose. You just, I mean, right now you have to go to a certain polling place. And it's a little confusing if you move or, you don't know exactly where it is because they only send you one little postcard
Hmm.
about a week before to tell you where to vote. But if you're at the wrong polling station, we're in the 21st century. You should be allowed to get a vote or a ballot from your proper polling place and vote there because they're all counted at the same place.
I have my ballot right here. I can
I
use
know.
it
But
anywhere in my town.
and there's some countries that make the single day of voting a national holiday. You're not allowed to work. You have to go vote. And
No,
there
it's
are
not a
other
national
places.
holiday here.
I'm just saying there's some places where. And in Australia, I think it was, you get fined if you don't vote.
Heh, I
But
wish I
here
did
they're
that here.
but here they're trying to make it harder for certain people to vote because that's the only way they're going to win the election.
Hmm.
It's like, why aren't we getting it through our head to make it easier to vote instead of making it more complicated just because you want to skew the outcome? If the general population is going one way, don't try to suppress the population. You're just going to make it worse.
Yeah, sorry for the noises, but I'm opening my ballot for the coming week because we have elections for the local government for the towns.
Let me guess, you're going to reelect Obama, you stupid liberal.
Yeah, right. And it's what is it, A5? No, no, not A5, A3. And it's just it's I can use it anywhere. And my where's my preferred one where I can? Oh, I even don't know how to pronounce this. Oh, wait, there. Wethouder van den Eenstraat 1. It's one of the schools, probably, I think. But I can use, if there's another one I want to go to, I can go there. That's not a problem at all.
Hmm.
And the only thing I need to do is show that I'm the person that has this ballot if they want to check me. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, there are other places too, like in Ohio, back when I was still living there, that the Secretary of State was Republican at the time, and
Hmm.
they were trying to skew the presidential election. So they started rolling out the new touchscreen voting things.
Hmm.
The I don't even remember what they're called, the machines themselves. But they were allocating them so that Republican areas got more of the machines than the Democratic ones. They actually admitted to doing this so that there would be
Okay.
longer lines at the Democratic polling places, which had fewer polling stations because they were closing them down because they
But
were
that's
gerrymandering
just
and
rigging an
consolidating.
election.
I
I see
know it
that
was
as
so blatant, but nothing happened. They were openly admitting that they were doing this, and nothing happened. It's like it's so clear that our elections are almost fraudulent that we should be cleaning them up. We should make it much easier for anyone who's a valid voter to vote.
Yeah.
Instead, they're just saying we're going to make it harder, and so what? Nobody's going to do shit about it.
Yeah, I can imagine, for example, that you want people to identify before they cast a vote, but with the current setup for getting that identification, it's for some people not even possible, and for others too expensive. So you
Yeah.
can't just introduce it like that, like saying like, okay, we want now an ID, that you show an ID. Like, okay, that's not possible. You're going to cause problems with the amount of voters you have.
If you have the significance to two decimal places for a percent of how many uh, fraudulent votes are cast during
Mhm.
election, it doesn't show up. It's still 0%.
Yeah,
It's so minuscule, but they're acting like it's so
that's the other
widespread.
part.
They have to make these laws. It's like there isn't voter fraud, but what you're doing becomes voter fraud.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that it's even not prevalent enough to actually warrant what they're proposing, considering the consequences it has.
hmm Or the costs. Some
Yeah.
places I mean, a lot of people who vote in poor or older areas don't have identification from the state because they haven't needed it.
Mhm.
They don't drive. They don't need like cash checks or anything like that. Everything's direct deposit. Whatever they need to do, they just have the basic stuff: the birth certificate, social security card, things like that.
Yeah, and here's the funny part: is if when I read what's on my ballot, is that they accept a passport, an ID card, or a driver's license from the Netherlands or another EU country that was minimal valid to 20 March of 2009,
hmm
or a verblijfsdocument. I think that's a document of legal residence, if I'm translating this correctly. So the range for most people in my country already have a driver's license,
hmm
so
Well,
that's not a problem.
here for IDs, like the voter ID thing was supposed to be a valid ID, which valid in the United States declares that it must be currently registered. So
Mm.
if your driver's license expires the day before you vote, and you go in to vote, technically it's an invalid license at that point, invalid ID.
So
So
it's
they won't accept it. It's like I didn't change. I didn't stop being this person yesterday.
these aren't also when they are expired, so they're not technically valid documents, but they're, say, recent enough that it's allowed by law.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If it expires the day before, it's considered an invalid document
Hmm.
in the United States for the purposes of identification. It's like I didn't stop being this person yesterday.
Hmm.
So how is it an invalid identification? It's invalid for me to drive with it, yes. But it's not invalid for me to say this is who I am. And
True.
that's one of the stupidest things we have in our laws here.
Yep.
Is ID stops being valid ID once it expires. It's invalid for me to drive with. It's not
Yeah.
invalid for me to say this is my photo, this is who I am. Ugh. I mean, we do so many stupid things just to say, oh, we only want certain people to vote.
Yeah, and it's Fox News is just entertaining to watch from time to time on this, and exactly the same thing you see with Obamacare. It's like, oh, it's something we don't like, let's attack it.
Yeah. See, you've made me upset again. Every week you do this thing.
Of course, I like to do it. You know that.
Shall I continue
Yes, please do.
with one of my 20 stories this week?
Yeah, you had like 8.
This is from the New York Times. It's by Keith Bradshaw and Michael Forsyth.
Hmm.
Series of errors by Malaysia mounts complicating the task of finding Flight 370.
Ah, of course.
Follow up from a story last week.
Hmm.
The radar blip that was Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 did a wide U-turn over the Gulf of Thailand and then began moving inexorably uh, past at least 3 military radar arrays as it traversed northern Malaysia, even flying high over one of the country's biggest cities before heading out over the Strait of Malacca. That was one sentence.
Bit long, bit long.
Yeah. Here comes another long one. Yet inside a Malaysian Air Force control room on the country's west coast, where American-made F-15s and F-5 fighters stood at a high level of readiness for emergencies exactly like the one unfolding in the early morning of March 8th, a four-person air defense radar crew did nothing about the unauthorized flight.
Oh God.
We're 2 sentences into the story. It's a
That,
lot of information.
yeah, but it's like you see something that's unidentified on your radar. It doesn't identify itself, and then you don't scramble jets.
Hmm.
Like,
Especially after 9/11. What 9/11 taught us is that America kicks ass. Wait. The watch team never noticed the blips, said a person with detailed knowledge of the investigation into Flight 370. It was as though the airspace was his. It was not the first and certainly not the last in a long series of errors by the Malaysian government that has made the geographically vast and technologically complex task of finding the $50 million Malaysian Airlines jet far more difficult.
mm-hmm.
One of the things they've been doing apparently is crowdsourcing the photos so that people on the internet could search through satellite photos of the ocean, see if anyone spots it. They're getting that desperate that they're hoping thousands of people looking at it will try to help them find something.
That's indeed a bit desperate, but it can be effective.
Yeah, but you also get a lot of people go, "Oh, what's this? Gotta go look for it." It's just like that. That's a pelican, sir, not a plane.
Yeah, but still, a pelican's a bit small to notice on satellite photos.
It could be a plane. It's
Or a
shiny.
whale.
A week after the plane disappeared, the trail is even colder as the search now sprawls from the snowy peaks of the Himalayas to the empty expanses of the southern Indian Ocean.
That's a big area to cover.
Yeah, nobody knows yet whether the delays cost the lives of any of the 239 people who boarded the flight to Beijing at Kuala Lumpur's ultra-modern airport here, but the mistakes have accumulated at a remarkable pace. It's sort of like mistakes that certain other person kept doing during a certain tragedy happening in Louisiana some years ago. Kept compounding and compounding and compounding, and he was lauded for his steel and his reserve.
Talking about Bush.
Yeah, I'm talking about Katrina.
Oh, Katrina. Yeah.
This is history repeating itself. We don't fucking learn.
No, we never
Even though
do.
it's just another government, it's like that was pretty much worldwide news. Why hasn't anyone learned from it?
Well, a plane, a 727 disappearing is kind of big news. Like, where did it go? Because that will
And
get the attention of everyone.
and not getting jets up to find out what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Mistake number one. Not
When
following it. Mistake number two.
when we have an incursion in Dutch airspace, we scramble jets because that's something Russia likes to do, sending cargo planes into our airspace, and that they don't, for example, then respond to hails. So we scramble jets and escort them through our space to see what the hell they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But why?
Mm-hmm. That's just. I mean, the search area now is larger than the area that the United States covers. They're not
Ay,
going to find the plane.
probably not. Or they find something that points them into a direction.
Or if they do find the plane, it'll be in the last place they look.
It's always in the last place that you look.
The fact that it flew straight over Malaysia without the Malaysian military identifying it is just plain weird. Not just weird, but also very damning and tragic, said David Learmouth, the operations and safety editor for Flight Global, a news and data service for the aviation sector.
Mhm.
Senior Malaysian military officers became aware within hours of the radar data once word spread that a civilian airliner had vanished. Okay, civilian airliners can fly 4 to 600 miles per hour.
Mhm.
After a few hours, that's a couple thousand miles of
Yep.
trajectory.
And if there's isn't a transponder sending anything, or you're not being picked up on radar, or people not responding to what they're seeing on radar, that's a huge area where you can get lost in.
So potentially, from the time that it disappeared or the transponder stopped to the point that the military officers became aware, they could have traversed from New York City to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have anything tracking it, they could have gone in any direction,
Mm-hmm.
but at any altitude.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a fuck up.
No, really. From the beginning, that they didn't have a clue where the plane was like, how do you not know?
Yeah. Let's see here. The Malaysian government nonetheless organized and oversaw an expensive and complex international search effort in the Gulf and Thailand that lasted for a full week. Only on Saturday morning did Prime Minister Najib Razak finally shut it down after admitting what had already been widely reported in the news media. Satellite data showed that the engines on the missing plane had continued to run for nearly 6 more hours after it left Malaysian airspace. So it's long gone, Sonny.
Yep. Shame that it didn't send also location information.
See, what I'm going to just posit here is it made it somewhere, landed, and just completely got dismantled. And the people, I don't know what the hell happened to them. Maybe they're being used as hostages, but they're not being revealed yet. I don't know. Another conspiracy theory happening, but it's just this one story. It's just like this is like something Stephen King would write.
Yeah. It's one of the suspicions that people have, that the plane just got stolen and that then something happened to it, maybe. But
I mean, if you think about it, maybe it was just a country that wasn't quite up on technology, and they didn't want to spend $50 million to buy a new jet. So instead, they just got two guys, stolen visas, whatever, and had them board the plane, hijack it, and land it. You know, it happens.
it has
It
happened
definitely
before.
happened this time, but
That has happened before. Wasn't that in the 70s?
70s, a
With,
lot of hijackings happen.
where they actually stole several airplanes, landed them, and then they eventually blew them up.
Responding to a storm of criticism, particularly from China, whose citizens made up 2/3 of the passengers, Mr. Najib took pains in a statement early Saturday afternoon to say that Malaysia had not concealed information, including military data. He just didn't act on any information until it was far too late. So you're admitting you weren't being deceitful, you were just incompetent.
Yeah, which makes it so much better. Hot.
Aviation experts said that a trained pilot would be the most obvious person to have carried out a complicated scheme involving the plane. Yet for a week after the plane's disappearance, Malaysia law enforcement authorities said that the investigation did not include searching for the home of the pilot.
Okay.
Malaysian law enforcement was investigating the pilots as potential hijackers of the plane. Technically, you can hijack a plane if you deviate from your course
Yeah.
you set out. But all they were doing was just asking background information about the people. They have yet, even in the story says, they have yet to search the homes of the pilots.
Weren't they doing that by now?
They haven't done it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on Saturday afternoon, the police were seen entering the gated community where Mr. Zahiri was said to have lived, and Malaysian news media reported they had searched his home. Okay, they did.
Ah,
Police,
I thought I remembered that one.
yeah, yesterday the news report that I saw said they hadn't done it yet.
Oh.
The police declined to comment. It's not known whether the authorities made any effort to secure Mr. Zahiri's home and prevent any destruction of evidence over the past week. Mr. Najib said on Saturday that the Malaysian authorities have refocused their investigation on the crew and the passengers on board, but Mr. Zahiri has not been accused of any wrongdoing. No information has been released yet on whether the homes of the co-pilot or flight attendants might be searched.
Yeah, you're at the point that you could get illegal search warrants just to say from, okay, we need to check them to see if they were involved somehow. Yeah, but it's still a bit of a gray area.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly like they're handling it well.
No, I mean this is just. There's no way you can recover from this unless you actively find the plane and realize that the plane was lost for an entire week because it went through a portal in time. I mean, that's the only way you're going to save face on this one.
Yeah, and if, if anyone is going to believe you on that one,
The jet made it to 88 miles per hour and was sent forward in time.
you do realize they fly faster than that,
I
right?
I said that earlier. I
Yes.
was making a Back to the Future joke.
I know, but no. Doesn't work when you already said that they're flying 400 to 600 miles per hour.
It does work. Don't ruin my stupid jokes.
Of course, that's what I'm here for.
So, you got any more stories for us?
Um, well, I
Don't
can
make
do
things
an
up.
I can do an extra one,
Do you have it on you?
and yeah, I have it on me on my monitor,
Okay.
and it's from Media Matters. How conservative media's slut shaming helped inspire a scientific study,
All right.
and it has to do with the slut shaming that happened with what was her name again? I forget it every time. The one that Limbo attacked. I'm trying to find her
Oh,
name.
I can't remember her name now either, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Lady who
Sandra
swings
Fluke, that's it.
helicopters. Yeah. Yeah.
Sandra Fluke. And what these scientists did was look at the claim that if you give women contraceptives for free healthcare, that they would become more promiscuous.
Hmm.
Now, they didn't find that.
You're kidding.
No,
You
I'm not.
mean
Strange.
common sense was actually true?
Yeah, what they found is that there isn't really a difference between those two groups when you get contraceptives and when you don't. The difference you do notice is that there will be less pregnancies, for example.
Hmm.
Gee, contraceptives, getting that out to people for free, lowers pregnancies, saving healthcare costs. Who knew?
Yeah, there was a segment on the Daily Show this past week where
Hmm.
they were talking about the renewed interest in how Obamacare, as they're calling it, keeps trying to extend birth control and other things for women
Hmm.
that businesses are mandated to cover. They're
Hmm.
trying to say, why should we be giving these things to women? We're just allowing women to have more sex. We got to stop using taxpayer money for all this stuff. And the segment pointed out that men's men's prescriptions for Viagra and things like that
Oh,
are
penis
almost
pumps.
almost $1 billion per year.
Wasn't
Nobody
like
says a
200 million?
goddamn thing.
Was it like 200 million
Total.
or
Yeah, it's like 200 million for penis pumps a year.
yeah? And I'm
They
like, okay,
purchase.
yeah. I'm like, okay, if you're complaining about contraceptives for women that they're for free or reimbursed in some way, you should also complain about what men getting.
Yeah. And
It also, it,
sometimes birth
yeah,
control pills are used medically too. They're not
yeah,
used just as contraceptives for women. Sometimes they help in other departments.
they help, for example, like regulating their cycles or making the period they're having less painful.
I think there
Like,
is one that's a birth control that's also good for blood pressure control. Trying to
I
remember
don't
what
know.
that one is. But yeah, that's sometimes prescribed too, and people think it's just birth control. It's like, no.
No, there are other benefits you can get from receiving a birth control. So, yeah, it didn't surprise me at all. Because
Hmm.
anyone who's a bit, just slightly informed about how contraceptives are used and by who and why and what they do will know it's complete and utter bullshit. Now
Hmm.
it got confirmed by a scientific study because scientists are like, okay, fine, we have this being said in the media. Let's see what the evidence says. Well, sorry, you're wrong.
Too many stupid people in this world.
Yeah, I really reserve a special place of hate for Limbaugh because he tries to be funny, but he's not.
He does
And
it because there are people gullible enough to swallow it up, which makes his ratings go up.
he did lose a lot of advertisers with this nonsense.
Yeah, but in the end, they still get the local advertisers who just are batshit insane, anyways.
True,
So I
but
mean, there's a contractor van, I think it is. I can't remember if it's contractor or something similar in the construction business. But I see their truck on the highway when I go to work, and they have the Leviticus quote about homosexuals on the truck.
mm.
I'm like, those are the kind of people who probably advertise with Limbaugh.
Yeah, but it's still it's like, can we please go back to simple, rational discussions about policy options?
No, because the people who don't have a valid point can't argue rationally about it.
Well, that's true, but still, I don't. I want that kind of rational exchange.
But to have the rational exchange, they have to admit that they're wrong, and they'll never do that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So when one side doesn't have a rational argument, like the right in this country normally does,
Yeah,
then
the Tea Party movement is one of the biggest guilty parties involved.
you would think that after so many times of being wrong, they would go, maybe our ideals are wrong. Not happening.
Or maybe at least our ideas about policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with having an ideal or a certain, uh, for example, a certain society you want to strive for, but at least try to have that on a rational discussion level.
Yeah. Trickle down economics hasn't worked yet, but it will work this time.
Everyone knows it doesn't work.
But not everyone knows because they keep getting told that it does work.
Yeah, right.
It's
Like history has shown that.
yeah, but they forget.
What they don't
They,
realize is that though that rich people might have a lot of money to spend, they don't spend it all. It's far more effective to give a small tax incentive to a lot of people than a big tax incentive to a few,
mm-hmm.
because the small ones add up,
Yeah,
and they are the ones that keep the American economy going.
right.
I'm talking about the middle class in this case.
Which is almost gone in the United States.
Yeah, you either got the rich ones or you have the poverty line.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're doing well at the moment in the US.
You ready for not uplifting story?
Oh, no, of course not.
Breaking news. This is just coming since last night.
Mm-hmm.
This is reported in the LGBTQ Nation,
Mm-hmm.
so you know what that is.
Yes.
Yeah. Breaking news. Report Fred Phelps, founder of Westboro Baptist Church, near death.
Oh,
Anti-gay extremist Fred Phelps, founder of the Westboro Baptist Church, the people who like to um, boycott and picket soldier funerals to say that
yes.
God hates fags and that's why soldiers die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those lovely
and
people.
yeah, and the God hates fags fundamentalist movement is near death in a local hospice, according to a Facebook post Saturday night by his son Nathan Phelps. The younger
Okay.
Phelps, who left the church in his family's compound in 1976 when he was 18 years old, writes, I have learned that my father, Fred Phelps Sr., pastor of the God Hates Fags Westboro Baptist Church, was excommunicated from the church back in August 2013. He is now on the edge of death at Midland Hospice House in Topeka, Kansas. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Terribly ironic that his devotion to his God ends this way, destroyed by the monster he made. I feel sad for all the hurt he's caused so many. I feel sad for those who will lose his grandfather and father they loved. And I'm bitterly angry that my family is blocking the family members who left from seeing him and saying their goodbyes.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Phelps noted that he's not clear as to why his father was excommunicated. I have only hearsay on the reason with two different versions, so I won't comment at this point other than to say he was moved into another house and watched over so he couldn't harm himself. Fred Phelps
Okay.
Fred Phelps, 84, founded the Westboro Church in 1955, but has been involved in actions against gay people since at least 1991, when it sought a crackdown on homosexual activity at a local park 6 blocks from the church.
So he got
So
excommunicated from his own church?
that's what his son is reporting.
What the hell's going on?
Don't know. But this, like I said, was just posted last night, so it hasn't made too many of the rounds of the news yet.
I thought he was the one keeping everything together. This doesn't make that sound like that.
No, I believe his daughter had taken over the church last year.
Oh, the blondish one.
Yeah, because for a while there we weren't seeing Fred at the in the media and picketing. I just
Hmm.
thought it was because he was getting older and didn't want to, do it, pass on the torch. I didn't know any of this stuff was going on. So Nathan has been making it public now that his father is near death.
I
So
really don't know how to feel about this.
yeah, I mean, I never want death on anyone. It's just when you build up that much hate and resentment towards so many people, and you exploit so many people for just your personal gain, uh, I'm not going to miss you. Good
Yeah,
riddance.
that's the thing. It's sad that they're losing a family member. If considering it, assuming this is actually happening, this all is true. But considering what they've done,
Hmm.
I'm not exactly sad that he if he passes away, but still sympathies to the family
Hmm.
because you're still talking about someone's father.
Mm. For
So
a lot
yeah,
of them, they didn't have a father.
yeah. With it's how to say this a bit nicely. It's an interesting family dynamic that they have.
Yeah, at least a few of them had brains.
The ones that got out, you mean?
Yeah.
Or at least they weren't indoctrinated enough.
So, are you ready for another uplifting story?
Oh, please make it uplifting.
Yeah, this is from the BBC in the business section.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like there's an author to this. I'm sorry. U.S. regulator sues 16 banks for alleged LIBOR rigging. A U.S.
What
regulator,
library?
LIBOR.
Oh,
A U.S. regulator has sued 16 banks for allegedly manipulating the London Interbank Offered Rate, otherwise known as LIBOR. The
ah,
LIBOR rate is used to set trillions of dollars of financial contracts, including mortgages and financial transactions around the world. The regulator said that the manipulation caused substantial losses to 38 U.S. banks, which were shut down during and after the 2008 financial crisis. The sued banks include Barclays, HSBC, Citigroup, and Royal Bank of Scotland.
oh, we haven't heard those names before.
HSBC has been a little bit big, and Citigroup here in the United States is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how far Barclays and Royal Bank of Scotland reach. They're not too big in the United States that I'm aware of.
I'm not familiar with how big they are, but they also had issues when or weren't. If I'm correct, they weren't also exactly clean with everything was going on during that period.
Right. The
I'm
British
thinking
Bankers
through.
Association.
I'm thinking through my memory a bit about this. Who was involved, but with what again?
Yeah, the British Bankers Association has also been sued by the regulator, the U.S. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation (FDIC).
Hmm.
The BBA participated in the alleged scheme to protect the revenue stream it generated from selling LIBOR licenses and to appease the panel bank defendants that were members of the BBA. It was quoted as saying by the AFP news agency. The FDIC alleged that the banks mentioned in its lawsuit rigged the rate from August 2007 to at least mid-2011.
Wow.
Other banks named in the lawsuit include Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Deutsche Bank, Lloyds Bank, Credit Suisse, UBS, and Rabobank.
Rabobank?
Rabobank.
Rabobank. It's a Dutch bank.
So it's not Rabobank?
No. Rabobank.
That's why I said Rabobank. You have to give me credit for at least trying to pronounce it with the correct vowel sounds.
Yes.
I
True.
didn't call it Rabobank.
That's closer.
No, it isn't.
To me, it sounds closer.
Oh, you just hate English. LIBOR is the average rate at which banks lend money to one another and is decided on a daily basis. Most of the world's biggest banks contribute estimates to form the LIBOR, but there have been allegations that some have looked to profit from it by understanding or overstating their submissions. Over the past 2 years, regulators across the globe have been investigating the manipulation of the rate and there have been 3.7 billion US, 2.26 billion pounds in fines to date. A string of international banks and brokers, including Barclays and the Royal Bank of Scotland, have faced both criminal and civil penalties for their involvement in the scandal. So,
That sounds messy.
yeah. They did so in order to avoid the perception that they were having to borrow at higher interest rates than their peers and might therefore be in financial difficulty.
Oh God.
So, it's weird. In the United States, we're not bringing the bankers who brought most of this, brought most of the economy to its knees. We're just suing the banks across the pond, pretty much. Like there's some in the United States, but it's just like, how about instead of fining the banks, we put people in fucking jail?
That's what Iceland did.
I mean, the people ahead of these corporations are going to have golden parachutes if they get fired. They're going to just go out and have millions of dollars while lots of people were just bankrupted, homes foreclosed on left and right, all this shit. If
Yeah.
we don't start punishing people, it's going to keep happening.
Yeah, and one of the things that surprised me in your country is that, for example, that banks successfully foreclosed on homes for which they didn't have a mortgage.
Right.
Like, how do you manage to do that?
Just
And
number.
some
I
of the
mean,
stories coming out of that from when it happened was that they actually, some seem to do that deliberately. I don't know if it's been proven it, but they were giving the at least looked like they were getting this, doing this deliberately.
mhm.
It's like, why?
Well, there were a couple
How
banks
do you manage to do that?
were just sending out so many lawsuits to foreclose. They weren't checking to whether they could foreclose. They were just sending out like thousands a day. So they just mass produce these things without checking. So the courts didn't check either. So sometimes they would foreclose on a property that had been paid off 10 years before. And no one thought it. And they just came and took the house. It's just like, wait a minute here.
Yeah, it's like I can imagine you being overwhelmed with the amount of paperwork, but this is something you need to check.
Yeah. And in the spirit of business, I'm going to my next story.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not something you know too much about, given that it's based in the United States, but this is from the Washington Post business section.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story by Don McCarty and Leslie Patton.
Mm-hmm.
Quiznos follows Sbarro into bankruptcy as competition grows. Do you know what Quiznos is?
No, I don't know what Quiznos is.
Think Subway with more gourmet type sounding sandwiches, but at almost twice the cost.
And is it also better or not?
No, it's higher calories and the food just tastes average to me, at least.
So you pay for the extra calories.
You're paying because it sounds better.
Okay, give an example.
It's been a while since I've been in Quiznos, but at the time you could get like a chicken chipotle sandwich. Whereas if you go to Subway, you can get chicken on a sandwich.
Yeah, but
it
it's still that doesn't sound really artisan or better.
no, it just sounds gourmet. Chicken chipotle sandwich or jalapeno uh, taco sandwich or whatever. It's been a while since I've been in Quiznos.
Jalapeno taco sandwich.
And I stopped going to Quiznos because just a small sandwich would cost as much as a foot long sandwich at Subway. It was just like, why am I paying the same for half a sandwich just because you toast them? And then
You can
Subway
get
got
them
into
toasted
toasting.
at Subway.
Well, Subway started toasting them when Quiznos started expanding because
Ah,
Quiznos was the toasted sub company.
oh, okay. Because I do remember them asking me once if I wanted to toast it or not.
But like just a standard sandwich, like a cheesesteak sandwich, would
Hmm.
be like $7 for what would be equivalent at Subway a 6 inch. But at Subway, you get a foot long sandwich for $6.
Hmm.
So it was just like, why are people still going to Quiznos?
Because they think they're getting better?
Yeah. Quiznos Corporation, the Denver-based toasted sandwich chain, filed for bankruptcy just days after pizza chain Sbarro LLC sought protection from creditors as competition among fast food restaurants grows in the tight market. It's the survival of the fittest, Bob Golden, executive vice president, Chicago-based restaurant researcher Technomic Incorporated, said in a phone interview before the filing. The market is not growing, or it's barely growing, so the weak players are getting weeded out. It wasn't so much weaker players. Sbarro is just bad food if you've ever had it.
No, considering I live in Europe, no, I didn't have it.
Well, I'm not sure how far they reach, but they're mostly a mall-based food place,
Yeah,
and
we don't really have malls here.
they're Italian. They're Italian foods, but they have like pasta that just tastes like it was boiled over, and then sauce just added to it and set out for hours.
Eh.
They would make pizzas and have them set out, but they would put them back in a pizza oven when you ordered it.
Ah!
So it could have been sitting out for 2, 3 hours before you actually get it, and then they reheat it for you. I mean, it's
Look,
just
for example, Domino's is not a good pizza company, but at least they make it fresh.
right, and they make it fresh the same day at Sbarro, but it's just like they never make anything for you right then. They have to reheat everything, and it's just the dough was just tough as nails, and it just didn't have
Yeah, and
flavor to it.
soggy and
No, it was tough. It wasn't soggy.
well, it dried out.
Yeah, it was always bad whenever I had Sbarro. It would be like the choice between Sbarro or a couple other places that didn't have any appetizing food there. So I was like, I guess Sbarro. Every time I've regretted it. It's never been a good experience at Sbarro. So this is Sbarro's second bankruptcy filing in like 5 years.
Hmm.
I don't know how they're surviving, but it's just bad food. And then Quiznos was just overpriced. I mean, they were on par with Subway as far as quality. It just costs almost twice as much.
Yeah, and then you're going to lose. The thing is, with for example, Domino's, I'm always wondering how they manage to get the pizza so greasy.
Hmm.
Because when I make pizzas, they're not greasy.
It's the processed cheese, most likely.
That soaks through the topping, through the thick dough, into the cardboard box.
Yeah, it's like a superpower.
I find it disgusting.
I've yet to eat Domino's and not gotten sick from it. I've eaten it in 3 different states, mostly because other people were in the group with me wanted to get Domino's. It's just like I'm never gonna learn. I'm just gonna. I mean, it's just like I can't eat Burger King. Half the time I eat Burger King, I get sick.
Uh-huh.
I can eat McDonald's and not get sick, which just frightens me. I've only gotten
I,
sick once from a Taco Bell.
okay, I've never eaten at McDonald's. I've never eaten at a Burger King. We don't, as far as remember, have a Taco Bell here. I've never had anything from Domino's, so I don't know if I would get sick from it.
It's just, I mean, I'm not one who normally gets sick from food, but for some reason, certain fast food joints I just can't eat at because it makes me nauseous. Ugh. Competition among U.S. restaurants has been increasing as newer fast casual chains expand quickly. Sbarro filed for bankruptcy on March 10th, while the owner of Hot Dog on a Stick filed in February.
What?
It's an actual restaurant chain in California.
They're called hot dog on a stick.
Hmm.
Is that all they sell?
They probably sell other things besides hot dogs on a stick. I mean, they might get
It's
French fries on a stick or something. I don't know. Never
still
eaten there.
hot
It's in
dog on a
California.
stick.
As foot traffic in shopping malls dwindled and rivals such as Panera Bread Company, Chipotle Mexican Grill Incorporated, and Subway restaurants cut into their business. Quiznos listed debt of more than $500 million dollars in Chapter 11 documents filed today in U.S. bankruptcy court in Wilmington, Delaware. Is seeking to implement a reorganization plan that it said would cut debt by $400 million dollars. The plan has the support of senior lenders, according to a company statement. The company said it will seek court approval of a $15 million loan to continue operations as it restructures.
Huh.
Quiznos, founded in 1981, has a quick service restaurant in all 50 states and 34 countries, according to its website. Now, when I moved here to Austin, Texas in 2010, I witnessed them closing one of the last Quiznos they had in Austin.
Okay.
If you can't survive in Austin, you're pretty much not going to survive in a lot of America.
Okay, and why would that be?
because because we're growing. Austin, the population growth of Austin is one of the highest in the country right now.
Okay, so probably that such bad food that even a growing population with which then experiments with restaurants is like new.
Or it could be like if you have apple A from vendor and it costs 5 cents, and apple B from vendor and it costs 25 cents. If they're almost the exact same apple, you probably get the 5 cent one more often.
Well, if the 5 cent apple is Quiznos, I go for the 25 cents apple.
That's the thing. I mean, if they're almost identical, then cost, go for the cheaper one. So Subway would win out against Quiznos. There's also Jimmy John's, who makes all cold sandwiches. They're about the same price as Subway.
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of, is having something that sounds fancier and is toasted for you better, spending $3 or $4 extra on lunch than something else?
Or you could bring lunch.
Yeah, Quiznos needs to re, rethink what they do. I
Yes.
mean, just sounding gourmet doesn't make it gourmet.
No. I can make better gourmet sandwiches than the Subway.
On a more uplifting and funnier story, are you ready for the stupid criminal story?
I'm never ready for the stupid criminal story.
This is out of the Metro in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
but the story takes place in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So you can understand the level of stupid criminal I'm going to talk about.
Yes, he crossed international borders.
Doesn't I don't see a author on this. It just says Metro Web Reporter.
Mm-hmm.
A homeless woman in Japan managed to sneak into a man's house and lived undetected in his closet for a year. It was
What?
only arrested after he became suspicious when food mysteriously began disappearing. I can hear your brain going, I can't process this. What?
How do you do that undetected?
Police found that the 58-year-old woman on Thursday hiding in the top compartment of the man's closets. Japanese homes are kind of tiny.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, how? How do you manage to live for 1 year in a home and not tip off the homeowner that you're living there?
The resident of the home installed security cameras that transmitted images to his mobile phone after becoming puzzled by food disappearing from his kitchen over the past several months.
I would be seriously questioning what was going on after a couple of days, not months.
One of the cameras captured someone moving inside his home Thursday after he had left, and he called police believing it was a burglar. However, technically it was.
Yeah.
However, when they arrived, they found the door locked and all the windows closed. We searched the house, checking everywhere someone could possibly hide, Itakura said. When we slid open the shelf closet, there she was, nervously curled up on her side. The woman told police she had no place to live and first sneaked into the man's house about a year ago when he left it unlocked. The closet is part of a Japanese-style room, one of several rooms in his one-story house where the man lived alone. Or so he had thought. Police were investigating how she managed to go in and out of the house unnoticed, as well as details of her life inside the closet, and if she had taken anything else besides food. She had moved a mattress into the small closet space and apparently even took showers, Itakura said, calling the woman neat and clean.
Well, at least you have that. If somebody starts living with your place you don't know about, at least they don't smell. Like, what?
It's an old story, but I found it and said, okay, this has got to go in there. After a week of all that shit that happened in Austin, I had to have something uplifting.
People do the strangest things, and this is one that really ranks up there.
So did you,
I'm surprised mostly by the fact that it took like 6 months for him to figure this out.
several months.
Yeah,
Just say 6. It could have been 8.
I thought he said something like half a year.
No, she'd been living there a year.
Yeah, but he was getting suspicious when food started disappearing half a year ago or something.
No,
Thought
several
he said
months. He said.
oh, several months.
Yeah. Um. Did you enjoy this week's extended episode?
Yeah.
Because now we come to the best part of the episode.
Yeah, the one where, what was it, famous people do stupid things?
Celebrities do the craziest things.
That was it.
Are you ready?
No, I'm never ready for this one.
This has been in a lot of news lately, so maybe you've heard of it.
Oh, I haven't been paying attention much to news lately because I was preparing for customer training this Monday. So,
Pinkberry co-founder Young Lee was sentenced to 7 years in prison for the violent and merciless assault of a homeless man. The homeless man was panhandling on a freeway off-ramp when Lee and his friends stopped. The homeless man asked for money and flashed his abdomen at the vehicle. It was due to the tattoo that the man had which caused Lee to return to the scene and beat the panhandler with a tire iron.
okay.
This week's question is, what was the tattoo?
I think I've heard about this story, but I can't remember for the life of me what it is.
Here are your choices. Was the tattoo A, an anti-South Korean graphic which insulted the South Korean Young Lee? B, 2 stick figures depicted in a sexual position? C, a detailed naked woman which used the homeless man's navel as her vagina? Or D, a crudely drawn cartoon mocking others as monsters to the panhandler for not giving him money?
Option 3 or option 4? Which one?
I'm always happy that this traumatizes you so much.
Yeah, I always I can't remember what the questions are when this is done because it's just doesn't compute in my brain. I'm going for option 3 because it's the most insane one.
So you think that he had a tattoo of a detailed naked woman which used the homeless man's navel as her vagina?
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Well, of course not, because I made it up.
Oh, you made it up.
Yes, so
Which one is that the real one?
there you go. There's a story in the New York Daily News.
Okay, page is loaded. 2 sticks figures?
Lee, 49, beat Daniel Boulding with a tire iron after the panhandler asked Lee for money and flashed a tattoo of 2 stick figures having sex. That's certainly something to go home, get upset about, grab a tire iron, and drive all the way back to the highway off ramp to beat someone senseless.
Yeah, that sounds like the reasonable thing to do. Normally it's the option 3 kind of answer you have, but I don't know if this one shocks me more or if option 3 was true.
Action 3 was not true. It was option B, 2 stick figures depicted in
Yeah,
a
I know.
sexual position.
But I don't know which one is worse if either one was true.
Well, why would you go back to beat someone for showing you stick figures having sex? Really?
I got nothing.
Neither do I. I mean,
I mean,
I could have had many other stories like the father in California who bit off his 1-month-old baby's nose.
what? That one I didn't see on my Facebook feed. Normally they pop up on my Facebook feed.
Or a Las Vegas teacher who was busted for having sex with one of her students.
That's something you hear several times a year. So
Or the Maryland teenagers who tortured an autistic boy with a knife and forced him to perform sex acts and film it.
wait, that happened?
Yes. So I could have done any number of those stories, but I went with the Pinkberry co-founder, who's no longer with Pinkberry,
What's
and
Pinkberry?
it's a frozen yogurt chain.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Someone who sells frozen yogurt drives back to beat up a homeless
no,
person with
he
a tire iron?
he co-founded the company. He's no longer part of them.
Okay, but still, someone who sold
Yeah.
frozen yogurt. Eesh.
So it's just like I don't understand how any of the story actually transpired in a rational person's mind.
My answer would be this isn't rational.
Nah. But see, you think rationally, so you would understand rational people. You don't understand irrational people. Therefore, you're very biased when you make arguments based on irrational
Why is there
people.
rainbow candy in that bowl with yogurt on top of it?
That's Pinkberry.
That's that just looks wrong.
I have never eaten at a Pinkberry, but it's a
Sugar,
premium gummy candy that they
yes,
have.
it's called sugar pova.
But still, it's just like Pinkberry is one of these things lauded as the place to go. It's hip, it's cool. It's just like it's fucking frozen yogurt with trendy things put on top. It's frozen yogurt.
I can even make a better frozen yogurt than what I'm seeing here.
But it's not Pinkberry.
I've got, actually the story is that I have an ice cream machine,
hmm
and I can make an ice cream that isn't cream based, that is really close with texture and taste to a cream based ice cream.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering if I should share my desktop so I can play part of that "Heil Honey, I'm Home" episode for you.
No, please don't.
So, as we're wrapping up, do you have anything happening this week?
Uh, Finally getting a bit more sleep, so I'm happy with that.
That's good. Can you share some with me? Because I need some more sleep.
No, thank you. I'm still catching up, so I'm greedy at the moment.
Ah, bastard.
I don't care
And I finally introduced you to Ultraviolet. Haven't been able to get you any movies from my Ultraviolet collection.
because I'm not in the same region as you are.
Yeah, for people who aren't aware, I love buying Blu-rays. I have this thing where I like having the original media, so I don't buy too many things digitally.
Yeah, same here.
And a lot of what I come or get has Ultraviolet codes. And for me, it's just like, why should I sign in and get another account with another company in order to get a movie that I can download from iTunes when I have software like DVD Fab, which means I can just take my Blu-ray, put it on my drive, rip it to my iPad, and have it there for travel.
Hmm.
So it doesn't make sense for me to, register for another company have Ultraviolet. So I asked Colin if he could register for Ultraviolet. And I
Yeah,
could
which was
start
a
giving
really
codes.
frustrating process.
And apparently, I can't give him my codes because they don't work because he's not in the United States.
Yes, and that was after jumping all through all kinds of hoops. Because when I was registering for Ultraviolet account, there is this automated registration process that also registers you with services you need to use Ultraviolet. That didn't work, which firstly I couldn't even find the registration page at the beginning. Then I had to register two accounts manually, link them manually, and then when I had a code from you, nowhere on the site it said like redeem a code. There was a redeem code page, but it just said oh, you can redeem a code, but it
Yeah.
didn't give the option to redeem a code. It didn't link
This
to anything. It's
this
like
said to get
who
your
who did the usability testing for that website?
yeah, it said to get your digital HD ultraviolet, go to movieredeem.com. Follow the instructions to get both iTunes digital copy and ultraviolet. When
Yeah.
prompted, enter the authorization code below. So you have to go to another site, probably register there, get the code, and go back to your ultraviolet to download it so you can transfer it to your iTunes account. And
Hmm.
why does ultraviolet exist?
Why? Yeah, and why is it so difficult?
Oh, that
Um,
reminds me
if
too.
I would live in the United States, I'm like, I'm going to Netflix.
While we're on a ranting mood this week, I still have that Battlefield 4 code that I got with my new video card, and I absolutely loathe EA. I do not have a single EA game that uses Origin on my system. I only buy them from Steam, so the newer games I don't get.
I have one game. And
Which game is that?
That's a game which was the Crytek engine demo. What's the name of again?
So I still have. I've asked Colin to see if any of his friends want Battlefield 4, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet.
I haven't found anyone yet.
Yeah, that's the strange thing. I haven't found anybody either. I know people play first-person shooters, and not one person wants Battlefield 4. They don't have it; they just don't want it.
The detail is the people that I know play Battlefield already have the game. So
yeah. So this puts me in another dilemma. You know, I have Battlefield 4, I just don't want it, but I do want Titanfall.
You do want Titanfall?
Yes. Titanfall is an Xbox and PC exclusive game.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get it for the PlayStation 4. I will not buy an Xbox One, and the graphic capability of it means that Xbox 360 will probably look like crap.
Probably.
So I'm not going to bother with that. But I do not want Origin. And the only way to get, since it's an EA game, Titanfall, is to play on Origin. So it's like, I don't want Origin, but I want to play Titanfall, but I don't want it for the Xbox 360, and I don't want to buy an Xbox One. This is first world problem.
I also prefer Steam because it's so much more user friendly.
And the multiplayer works well.
Yeah.
There's not much you have to do. And if I want to have a friend borrow a copy of my game, Steam allows me to send them a copy of my game.
Yeah.
They can try it, and I can't play it for as long as they're borrowing it. So is it borrowing or just playing when they're borrowed? I'm trying to remember how Steam does it.
I've never tried that service, so I don't know.
I don't think I can do that on Origin. So it's just, why have Origin and Steam when Steam works well? And Steam carries some EA games.
Yeah, that's the confusing part.
I mean, it's okay if EA wants to promote Origin. Stop making things Origin only.
Yeah, because you only install Origin for the game and ignore it for the rest.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, Steam or Valve makes Steam-only games. But Steam works.
Yeah.
Steam isn't BS made by a company that just is a terrible company to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
EA is normally ranked in the top 10 of worst companies every year.
That's true. It's one of the most hated game companies in the world.
And seeing as how SimCity's relaunch pretty much said, hey, EA doesn't give a crap about gamers.
Yeah, they actually added the offline mode.
Yeah. But after how many people complained?
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And after them saying that it wasn't possible.
So now it's just like, do I buy Titanfall and just get Origin on my system now? Or do I continue just whining about the fact that I want to play Titanfall
again? Knowing you, you're probably going to whine.
Oh, thank you, Colin.
You're welcome.
Fuck you, too.
No, thank you. I'm not interested in guys.
I'll get Josh or Yoshimo on this.
He's also a
I
guy.
almost said it the same way. You make me say it the way you say it. Stop doing that.
What? Yoshimo?
Yeah, but you say Joshimo.
Isn't Joshimo?
Yeah, it's Yoshimo.
Yoshimo.
Yes.
All right.
So, but yeah, I'll get him involved.
Good luck.
You like the bronies?
Why do I like the bronies?
I'm just putting that in there so you'll accept them. All right, we end the show on a sigh.
You were fishing for that, weren't you?
Yes. I had to finish up the show on a high note. Anyway, I've been your host, Christopher Bear.
And I've been your co-host, Colin Maassen.
And from now on, you've heard this all before.
See you next time.
Bye.